Modern televisions have such a fast refresh rate that we don't even notice it's basically just a constantly flashing light that could feasibly deliver subliminals all day long. Even without subliminals, it's still a perfect social engineering tool. Mind control through TVs can already be done using something like Hendrikus Luz's patent for nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors, televisions, and computer screens. While that sounds more like a mood swing device, many patents could be used in conjunction with one another, like adding the silent subliminal presentation system for silent hypnosis that only sounds like an ultrasonic tinnitus noise if you even notice it at all. This 1992 patent was used on myself and others around the same time frame, so I can at least attest to a similar device's implementation, if not this exact one. But given my own experience, I have to say it's been around a lot longer than that. This is what people generally mean when they talk about V2K, voice to skull. This device and others like the long-range acoustic device, LRAD, used by the military are able to throw voices directly at people's heads. It's not unlike the audio spotlight or sound laser parametric speaker systems. Only the person facing it will hear it. LRADs were used by the US military to make Iraqi soldiers believe the voice of Allah was in their heads. There are numerous patents that prove direct or indirect mind control is possible with frequencies alone, aside from televisions, Wi-Fi, and V2K devices, also known as the microwave auditory effect or Fry effect. From 1961's hypnotic inducer, to microwave hearing and brainwave manipulation, to ultrasonic carrier signals. With these technologies, we were already androids in thrall to the machine. This guy sums it all up pretty well.
I asked Van Bice what a weapon using this technology could do.
Induce basically what would be considered hallucinations in people, direct them to do things against their so-called better judgment.
How easy would it be to assemble a weapon from existing off-the-shelf parts?
In 3 weeks, I could put together a weapon that would take care of a whole town.
The experiment wasn't just to lock down a police state like Orwell's 1984, but to determine how the entire public could be enthralled with a combination of narcotics, psychotronics, and a form of hypnosis. Sometimes it's just used to torture people to death, and it seems to be the consensus among TIs that madness and suicide is the goal. The occultists among gang stalkers consider us all potential sacrifices, but in regard to it being a military experiment, it's been shown that the majority of TIs are very intelligent people, many well educated. If I had to guess, it's because if it's easy to control those who set the standards high, then controlling everyone else will be no problem.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Everything is just fine. Waiting for you.
Brainstorm was a science fiction movie about a device which electronically injected thoughts into the human mind. In this scene, the mind control machine projects images into the brain of the chief scientist through an electrode headset. The scientist then finds himself experiencing the thoughts of a wild truck ride. But even in this futuristic Hollywood tale, the subject still had to be connected to the machine by an electrode headset.
That's remarkable.
But not as remarkable as a real-life experiment where I was the subject of a prototype device designed to project images into the mind without electrodes. The prototype machine, developed from Soviet scientific data, could, according to some scientists, have a profound effect as a weapon of war. Electronic mind control research is not new. A scientific milestone in this area came in the 1960s, when Dr. Jose Delgado demonstrated remote control over a charging bull. By connecting a radio antenna to electrodes inserted into the bull's brain, Delgado proved that the animal's aggressive impulses could be thwarted by electronically manipulating the bull's muscle reflexes.
Do you realize the fantastic possibilities if from the outside we could modify the inside Could we give messages to the inside? But the beauty is that now we are not using electrodes.
In recent years, Delgado has shown that the behavior of monkeys can be altered using low-power, pulsating magnetic fields. But in these experiments, there were no antenna implants.
Any function in the brain, emotions, intellect, personality, well, could be perhaps modified by this non-invasive technology.
CNN enlisted the help of noted physicist Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher and electrical engineer Bill Van Bice to build and test an RF mine interference machine from data found in Soviet scientific literature. The machine itself was inexpensive and easy to construct, using parts from a consumer electronics store. It emits a weak magnetic field, pulsed at extremely low frequency. As the subject of the test, I was blindfolded, and my ears were blocked to prevent inadvertent clues as to what was happening. A magnetic probe was placed about 18 inches from my head. As the experiment began, two signal generators produced waveform patterns that were transmitted by the magnetic probe at about 1/1000th of the Earth's natural magnetic field strength.
Describe anything that you see, if any.
In the control room, Van Bice varied the waveforms being generated. In another room, I could see waveforms changing shape in my mind.
Parabola just went by.
Parabola just went by.
Oh, yeah, I did. I just flipped the switch. Parabola?
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, let's see. Check this out. That's what happened. I flipped the switch. Okay.
There's a spike right there. Spike.
Right there.
Tight spike.
I dramatically changed the generator. I stepped it by 10 right here. And the intermix from the two generators was right where you said that you saw a spike.
Van Bice says that when I failed to see any change, it was because he had not set the proper frequency and power levels. Later, I asked Van Bice what a weapon using this technology could do.
Induce basically what would be considered hallucinations in people, direct them to do things against their so-called better judgment.
How easy would it be to assemble a weapon from existing off-the-shelf parts?
In 3 weeks, I could put together a weapon that would take care of a whole town.
We showed the results of our test to Dr. Robert Becker, a two-time Nobel nominee for his work in the biological effects of electromagnetism.
This is a very significant experiment because it carries our understanding of how vision is actually performed a step further into the mystery.
He said he thought the machine caused a disturbance in the brain's interpretation of vision, and as such could be used as a weapon.
That kind of a disturbance in the visual system could markedly influence the operations of a fighter pilot, a helicopter pilot, or even a simple an aberration in the visual field as making everyone seeing double, or everyone having their visual field jitter like a poorly adjusted television screen. The effect of that upon the efficiency with which an Army, an Air Force, or a Navy would operate would be catastrophic.
More about RF weapons in my next report. Chuck DeCaro, CNN, Special Assignments.
Described as Radio Shack parts that anybody can build, done in a laboratory.
Delgado's research has so far been limited to animals, but in the Soviet Union, a radio frequency, or RF device, has been used for over 30 years to manipulate the moods of mental patients. It's called a LIDA machine. It radiates pulses of radio frequency energy, as well as light, sound, and heat. The pulse rate is in the extremely low frequency range, between 0 and 100 pulses per second. Dr. Ross Adey is the top researcher at the Veterans Administration Hospital in Loma Linda, California. He has been investigating the effects of the LIDA machine.
Now, what do the Soviets use this machine for? Well, they don't use it anymore. We should be very clear that this is a machine which is regarded by them as somewhat obsolete technologically.
This scientist, who did not want his identity revealed, is employed by the U.S. government and has done secret RF weapons research. He believes that tests done with the LIDA and similar machines prove that humans are susceptible to remote alterations of mood and awareness.
Certain kinds of weak electromagnetic signals work exactly like drugs. And so the promise is that anything you can do with drugs, you could do with the right electromagnetic signals. Apparently, there are specific sites involved, specific functions involved. It's a matter of matching up, just like it is with a pill, or a drug to cause an effect. You could have a cause and effect relationship between a magnetic field and a biological function.
Broadcast by a number of high-powered radio transmitters operating deep in the Soviet Union since July 4th, 1976. Though the official Defense Department explanation of the woodpecker is that it is an over-the-horizon radar designed to track U.S. missile launches, some scientists suspect that the woodpecker is designed to interfere with human brain function.
As far as I'm concerned, the potential that this has for producing a direct psychoactive effect upon the total American population is there, has never been disproven.
Dr. Robert Becker is a pioneer in the field of bioeffects of electromagnetism.
The signal range within which the woodpecker operates is that which has been reported by many investigators to produce a tranquilizing effect upon animals.
We are just incredibly sensitive to these magnetic stimuli.
Dr. Bob Beck, a PhD in nuclear engineering, has done extensive research into electromagnetic effects on humans.
The signal was permeating power grids in the United States. It was being picked up by power lines, re-radiated. It was coming into the homes on the light circuits.
I was surprised after coming here that the influence of electromagnetic fields was almost completely ignored here.
Dr. Larissa Valenskaya was heavily involved in Soviet electromagnetic research before being allowed to emigrate to the United States. She told CNN about Soviet research in electromagnetic effects.
They demonstrated theoretically and also demonstrated experimentally that low frequency, low energy electromagnetic fields also can possess biological efficiency because any field not only carries energy but also carries information.
She stated that the research was carried out on orders from the Soviet government.
Of course, the military were extremely interested in this potential of remote influence.
Is the United States military working in the field of electronic mind control? Officially, the Department of Defense will not comment because the subject area is, quote, too sensitive. But CNN has learned from this government scientist, who did not want to be identified, that a Navy laboratory conducted research into the use of an RF device for counterterrorism and special operations.
It's possible to entrain a certain percentage of a population, apparently, with weak magnetic fields.
The study also showed that RF signals could dissolve certain types of rat brain cells at a distance, causing disorientation and nausea. According to the scientist, even though the program was successful, the government never followed up on it. The Department of Defense will not comment about Soviet RF weapons, or if American RF weapons development is going forward. However, experts interviewed by CNN say that the Soviets are apparently ahead and could exploit that lead in a surprise strategic move, a move that could have grave consequences for the United States. From Washington, this is Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments.
We're surrounded by so much technology, and it has become so integrated into our lives that I don't think people even realize some of what these things can do. I honestly don't think at this point that we are taught traditionally almost anything about how the world actually works. They churn everybody out in public schools to walk around just blind to everything. Just a mindless consumer, no critical thought, just sitting in front of your television, being programmed. That's why they call it programming. This is one of the creepiest patents I've ever read. And it's a real this is the thing. This is, I mean, you watch sci-fi shows and horror movies, and ooh, that's scary for 2 hours, but you read something like this, and then you just start thinking about how everything really works. I mean, we've not been told. We haven't been told how we work, okay? Let alone how everything else does. And then you come to something like this. So, I have had this patent in a folder printed off for a while. I've been meaning to talk about it. And then I saw recently, Richie from Boston covered this actually. And I was like, wow, that's kind of rare that he got this sent to him too. Good. I hope more people are talking about things like this. This is the kind of stuff that's actually going on in the reality that we're all sharing. This is United States patent number 6,506,148B2, dated January 14th, 2003. And this is the 10th in a series of patents by this particular man, all about manipulation of your nervous system, and in some ways remote manipulation, subliminal manipulation, and he ended with this one here, nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors. And I just wanted to go over this with you because this is a thing that exists, and it existed over a decade ago, well before they made the forced switch to digital, where they can layer the signals, and if there is anything strange in that, you're not going to see the interference, right? This has to do with physiological effects that have been observed in human subjects in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields pulsed with certain frequencies near half a hertz or 2.4 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displaying pulsed images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation. It is therefore possible to manipulate the nervous system of a subject by pulsing images displayed on a nearby computer monitor or TV set. For the latter, the image pulsing may be embedded in a program material or overlaid by modulating a video stream, either as an RF signal or video signal. The image displayed on a computer monitor may be pulsed effectively by a simple computer program. For certain monitors, pulsed electromagnetic fields capable of exciting sensory resonances in nearby subjects may be generated even as the displayed images are pulsed with subliminal intensity. In other words, you don't even know they're doing it. And then he has all these lovely drawings to go with this, which are just great. Actually, I have a favorite. It's this one right here. Remote computer, internet, her computer, her monitor, her. You see that? They can do this remotely and you don't even know that it's being done to you. And there's the kids. Got to have the kids in there. Anyway, he goes on to say that the electric field in studies by Norbert Wiener, that would be the father of cybernetics back during World War II and the Cold War, was arranged to provide a direct electrical driving of the brain. That's what this kind of stuff is based on. And he goes on to say that it's been found that indeed physiological effects can be induced in the manner by very weak electric fields if they're pulsed with a frequency near half a hertz. The observed effects, which is just the ones they had for this particular patent, include ptosis of the eyelids, which means your eyelids close and flutter, relaxation, drowsiness, the feeling of pressure at a centered spot on the lower edge of your brow, seeing moving patterns of dark purple and greenish yellow when your eyes are closed, a tonic smile, a tense feeling in your stomach, sudden loose stool, and sexual excitement, all depending upon the precise frequency used and the skin area to which this field is applied. So, you ever watch a movie and you're not really feeling it all that much? Let's say it's a romantic movie and you're not really feeling it, and something happens and the two characters are swooning and they play that swell of music, and even though you're not really feeling it and you kind of think the movie's lame, you still get emotional and you start crying. Or like when people used to cry at long distance commercials back when we had long distance commercials. I don't know, I'm probably dating myself now and how old I am when I say stuff like that, but the point is, we've all had moments in watching movies or different things where your emotions don't match how you really feel based on the film, and you could just say that's creative filmmaking. But when you see something like this, you gotta wonder, is it also something like this? Because they can do this, and he's saying right here they have the ability to. And if you read at the first page again, this patent is based on years worth of other patents, so it isn't like he just came up with this off the spot. He's got 10 of his own patents based on doing this kind of stuff. Then he goes on to say in the summary that the implementation of the invention is adapted to the source of video stream that drives the monitor, be it a computer program, a TV broadcast, a videotape, or a DVD. And a program written in Visual Basic is particularly suitable for use on computers that run Windows 95 or 98. That's how basic this technology is. Okay? It does not take much. They could use Visual Basic to run it on Windows 95. Okay? So, and this is all those years ago. I have no idea what they have today. And it is to the point that at the end of his own patent, in the summary, this man, Hendrikus Lewes, says, certain monitors can emit electromagnetic field pulses that excite a sensory resonance in a nearby subject through image pulses that are so weak as to be subliminal. This is unfortunate since it opens a way for mischievous application of the invention whereby people are exposed unknowingly to manipulation of their nervous systems for someone else's purposes. Such application would be unethical and is of course not advocated. It is mentioned here in order to alert the public to the possibility of covert abuse that may occur while being online, while watching TV, a video, or a DVD. I've read a lot of patents actually in my day, and I've never seen somebody warn in their own patent of the covert misuse of something the way that guy just did in his own patent. What makes it even more disconcerting is when you look up information about this, and other people have looked up because they've seen all these patents and they went, what the hell? And if you go look at his history, it becomes much more disconcerting that he's coming up with these things. It wasn't like he just thought of this by himself and randomly came up with it. This is a guy who during the 50s was working with Plasmodine Corporation and then Douglas Aircraft's Advanced Research Department. Douglas Aircraft, of course, linked to Lawrence Rockefeller, lots of black Cold War projects going on with them. Then he went on in the 80s and started working on government projects as a contractor with the likes of the Department of Defense, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. So that's Hendrikus Lewes, and they go on to say in this article that he had a website called QWave.com, but it's nothing more of a copy of a site. But I actually went back to the Wayback Machine and found the old website that this guy started. And after reading through Are You Sensitive to Electric Fields and the Q&A that he has here, I feel like the guy almost has remorse for what he's created, or he figured out through this series of patents that he put out over the 90s and the early 2000s that he was coming up with something that wasn't actually very good. And so he wanted to warn people about it. And that's kind of what I get, the sense I get from this website of his that he had up at the time. This is no longer a current website, but back in the day he had this, and he said that depending on these frequencies, relaxation, drowsiness, sexual arousal, he knew he could cause all these things with this program. And he says that electric field pulses capable of exciting a sensory resonance can be generated by small insulated electrodes packed flat in the space of a credit card. So it doesn't take much for this. This can be just put right into the television monitor. It can be put right into your VCR, your VHS tapes. I mean, computer programs, anything, computer monitors, whatever, right? Since we cannot sense the field directly, our nervous system can thereby be manipulated covertly for someone else's purposes. And then he was selling for rather cheap, $14 at the time, a program that you could buy and put onto your computer, and then you could test it on yourself to see how susceptible you are to this. And that's what his whole website is about. And then under the Q&A section, he's got all of his other patents. And like I said, you have everything here. Subliminal acoustic manipulation of your nervous system, manipulation of nervous systems by electric fields, magnetic excitation, pulsative manipulation. I mean, he's got it all right here. These are his 10 patents. And it ended with this one on monitors. And then he made this website. And the whole thing is just replete with him feeling, I think, pretty badly about what he did. You have to understand, all of these science projects, right? The government has these contractors and they make things and they're very compartmentalized. And I don't think people a lot of times realize, not all the time, some people are just horrible people and they're just in things for bad means. But I think some people actually genuinely think, I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, I'm doing good things. And they don't even have the foresight to realize what their stuff could be used for and that it could be used against the general public. That's what this patent is, and that's just one. There are a lot of others I'd like to go through. I have a whole thing of patents that I've printed off. I just have never had a chance to get to them all. But this particular one, it blows my mind because people just have no idea. We're walking around bathed in so much electromagnetic radiation right now, background. Human beings have never been exposed to the level that humanity is currently being exposed to in our modern technological age. And we're carrying cell phones in our pockets. We're sitting in front of our computer monitors. We're sitting in front of our television sets. And people just don't have any idea. the myriad uses that these things can be put to, all the stuff it can do. People are just blissfully ignorant. They don't know. And I personally don't want to go through life blissfully ignorant. I'd like to be informed. I mean, when I think of this, it reminds me of Videodrome. If you haven't seen the movie Videodrome, it's a very weird, creepy, violent movie, but they said in that movie the battle for the minds of North America would be fought in the Videodrome, and it was about programming that was turning people violent and crazy. And I mean, he mentioned some of the things that weak electromagnetic fields can do at certain pulsed frequencies, but that was not an exhaustive list of everything that they can do. And I bet it's a lot more than just making people cry at sappy movies.
Voices are very easy. And it isn't people imagining voices, they physically hear them. They physically hear, as I'm talking to you, my voice isn't inside your brain. My voice goes no further than an inch into your ear, no further at all. It's the electrical signal that makes you interpret how I sound. And once you've got this electrical signal, which can be a chip or lots of things, you can physically make people hear voices, certain voices, and it can be any conversation, and it can be anybody you want to hear. It can be a soft angelic voice, it can be a god, it can be something that scares you like a devil.
Hi, this is Ed from thedailyrabbithole.com and the Outer Light channel on YouTube, back again with another video here. Thank you to everyone that is subscribed to my channel, and if you are, make sure to click the bell there to keep up to date with my videos. Thank you to everyone on Patreon, Maker Support, Steemit and DTube. So I will be deleting my Patreon accounts, my Maker Support accounts soon, as I stated in the past. Let's go right into it. This is going right around the internet at the moment. To really put it into context, what happened is a journalist called Curtis Waltman filed a Freedom of Information Act request at the Washington State Fusion Center, which is partnered with the Department of Homeland Security, as stated here. They wanted documents on Antifa, etc., white supremacist groups, whatever they were looking for. But what they got inside that file from the Freedom of Information request was a strange zip file, which looks like it was a mistake from the FOIA office there at the Department of Homeland Security, or wherever, that's overviewing the Department of Homeland Security Freedom of Information request. They got a file called EM Effects on the Human Body .zip. So what was in that file? Well, it's a mysterious file on psychoelectric weaponry. The file included methods of remote mind control. So very weird that they would receive that file. This is all around the internet at the moment. You can see the main report here at Muckrock. This is a place that is dedicated really to Freedom of Information requests, or keeping track of them and publishing those Freedom of Information requests. Staying here, Washington State Fusion Center accidentally releases records on remote mind control in a file called EM Effects on the Body.zip. I downloaded that, took a look at it, got the main, it's pretty much just a cross-referenced information, or these JPEGs that are being seen here, and you can see the kind of information: psycho-electronic weapon effects. Very weird. Read over it in detail. There's a lot of very strange things here. There's not any information I could find apart from the JPEGs there, which are in the zip folder. What's strange about this kind of stuff is you have them talking about remote influence, talking about being able to put voices in other people's heads here, with the asterisks noting this above there, citing that the first apparent ability to do this happened in 1974 out of Walter Reed Army Institute of Research in 1974. That was really putting remotely influencing someone to make them hear voices. So in summary of what you see here is a lot of different, I guessing, targeted areas that have influence. One is artificial tinnitus. They can create that, which is the sound of cicadas, very low. Also microwave hearing. I don't know what that is, but it's an asterisk that references this. So what I guess this means is just really cross-referencing that you're actually hearing something through a microwave signal, i.e. a voice. Stuff like transparent eyelids is in quotation marks, meaning that it's probably a term that's referenced in other documentation, so you actually know what that term means, and so on and so forth, including erratic heartbeat, different kinds of methodologies of mind control, inducing a hypnotic state from a distance, and these kinds of things. Let's have a look at another one here. So this is the bigger picture here, so you can read that on screen and pause it. I'll just move this out of the way. So you can pause it on screen. A link will be placed in the comment section to the original files. Just scroll down so you can just read it on screen and it's not too much of a hassle. Just move this down to that there so you can read all that on screen. Let's go to the next part of it. Here's another piece of documentation here. Try to blow this up a little bit larger actually. That is about as clear as the picture actually gets. So here is the other picture that was in this zip file. Mass and individual remote mind control via the mobile phone network and mobile phones. Remote mind control, remote brain mapping. So it looks like they've got cell phone towers there, and the coordination of the towers enable them to actually manipulate people's minds. Individual remote mind control via mobile psychotronic weapon carriers disguised as communication vehicles. Individual and group remote mind control via black helicopter carrying psychotronic weapons. There you go, another classic. Individual remote mind control via transportable psychotronic weapons. So here we have two houses. This has individuals within the house and then the house across the way is sending a targeted wave to those individuals. Again, this is real technology. I mean, how real is it? Well, in this documentation it cites 1974 as a way of putting voices in someone's head, as well as a number of other different things. Tinnitus, maybe not making you feel very well. If you did this through the, cell phone towers, imagine the impact, for an example, you could have before an election in order to get one set of group of individuals targeted through data collected from Facebook, which literally has your GPS location on your cell phone from it, and targeting you in some way, all of these voters, maybe they might feel not as well to show up to vote. Maybe you put voices in their heads over a period of time. Maybe you influence them through a collective mean, not just this, but a bunch of different things. You can see how advanced this could be in manipulating a population. So there you have targeted through black helicopters, literally, and all of these cell phone towers. An example of ELF brain stimulation. And these are the frequency ranges here. Motor control cortex, 10 Hertz. Auditory cortex, 15 Hertz, 25 Hertz, 9 Hertz. Thought center at 20 Hertz. Information induced through modulation. Motor impulse coordination. Sound which bypasses the ear, and so on and so forth. So you can see it's a total thing there. Now you might remember that patent I talked about, which I'll show you. Well, you've probably referenced that famous patent there, that mind control patent, and I did a lot of research into that. We'll take a look at that in a moment straight after this. But in the meantime, let's go to our other little GIF here. So here is also out of the documentation. Let's just move that out of the way. Spectrum, emissions of wave propagation, electronic signal. To make communication, to identify any object emitting frequency, human body emits very low electronic signal as temperature, heat, brainwave, delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma. Bioelectromagnetic field, which is unique for every human body. This is electronic signal frequency, ID of each object. Radar, electronic signal detects the object, the human body, for modulation over brain waves. And then again, it shows you the brain wave feed information there. Now, I just want to talk about something very quickly before I go into the mind control patents, which I've covered in the past. This, of course, is new news, but I just want to reference that again. Here, if you look at the academic spectrum, right, what fields of research are absent from the academic spectrum? If you look at it, what fields of research? Well, hypnotism is known as a real phenomenon. I mean, it's literally performed all over the place. You know, you have practicing hypnotists. Nothing in academia. In fact, academia, as in their opinion, is hypnosis is not real. That is their opinion. There's nowhere in a university you can study literal hypnosis. You can study as a psychiatrist or a psychologist and then go off and, you know, take a course in hypnosis at some third-party system in some community lab or something outside the university. But as someone that's been in the university for 10 years, okay, different universities, you might not think it, but I have. I've got a master's degree and things like that, although, you know, I am a C's get degrees kind of person. I wasn't any kind of academic. I just took time and did my work, and slowly I got you know, a degree and stuff like that. The point is there's no place where it's taken seriously. It's non-existent. Anything to do, it seems, with the idea that you could control people remotely through hypnosis and suggestion and all these methodologies, not taught in university. Look for a course. The closest you ever get to it is advertising, which is just treats it at a very superficial level. None of any of the mechanics of a mentalist, you know, like a Darren Brown or someone like this that can literally induce someone into a hypnotic trance through a handshake, which is called, it really comes down to a method at which your mind is thinking about one thing and it's an interruption, and when someone has their thought instantly interrupted, they're very suggestible there for just a moment. And when you tell them to sleep, they sleep. Not everyone, about 10% of people will react, you know, to that in some way, but most people will not. But most people respond to hypnosis. Long-term suggestibility don't even know they're in a partial trances. That is what it is. So it's absent from academia, in my opinion, on purpose, just the same way they make fun of things they don't want you to look at. They make fun of things like that, so they keep it out of the arena of any kind of real academic research or essays, and that way they own the subject in the black sector where they're researching it intensively. Let's go have a look at this mind control patent. Okay, I'm back. Just got all the information here. First of all, I'd like to say updated information on this person. Apparently last year they had a funeral, so they've passed away. I looked up that information there. I don't have the link at the moment, but in my opinion, are they even a real entity? Well, they look like it. What I'm talking about is this name here. I don't even know how to pronounce it. So this is Google Books. I'm in Google. Don't usually use that. I used DuckDuckGo, but for this I'm in a different browser, so this is what we're using here. This is the University of California, 1963 University Bulletin, a weekly bulletin of staff. This is a highly unusual name if you see what I'm selecting there, so it's not going to show up that often. This person's associated with the University of California. This is 1963, their name appearing there in a university bulletin. That is to show you that it's the same person, okay? So they're actually a professor there, or was. Here's another, and this is what they went on to, 1967. Here's their name again, internal, and these are to do with military aircraft, Douglas aircraft, Huntington Beach, California, Advanced Research Labs. There is the individual right there is the author for this, for the military. Reason why I'm saying this is to show you a track record. Here's one of another book here. This is the Punch Method of Compressing, Heating and Confining of Plasma again, and this is from the United States Air Force Office of Scientific Research, 1958. Here is a manual here, the one we talked about, the bulletin there. You see his name there in the books as a lecturer in physics, but there is no photos of him ever. It seems that he had been at the university forever, and I'll give you my opinions a bit later on that. Here is the individual again, Laguna Research Lab there. Who did they have some good contracts with in the late 80s? Was with DARPA, the Navy. DARPA. And these aren't real figures, okay? These are, I don't know what these are. These are the amounts awarded: a C nozzle sprayer, adaptive content addressable memory, whatever that is, adaptive, etc. And these kinds of things. But it's I'm showing you this to show you a track record that it's a person, very intelligent person. I'll give you my opinions later. University of California, professor of physics, although there's no photos of them, with a lifetime membership in the black sector. You don't get more black project than this individual. The reason why is here's a patent on Google that they filed. This patent that they filed, and I'm saying that to show you that this isn't some person down at the supermarket that said they made a mind control device. This is an extremely serious person who has contracts from DARPA dating back to the late 1950s when they're still working in army research and military research. And they are there at the professor at a university. That was just really a token name, probably as a chair in an empty room. Most of their time is spent in this sector here. There is their name there, and they're inventor of what? Nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors. This is one of many of what they were doing. A lot of what they're doing is literally mind control. Manipulating the human nervous system, thoughts and things like that. If you look through all their patents, of which there are many, okay, in order to manipulate somebody. So in this figure they show how it's done. Really, they do it through a monitor that we're looking at right now, and they're inserting thoughts and these kinds of things, and the person's not even aware of it, or making people feel a certain way. Physiological effects have been observed in the human subject in response to stimulus of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies near half a hertz or 2.4 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displaying pulsed images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation. They know, and that's what we are now. We're in like a prison of electromagnetic smog. Do you think it's not going to be long until the data, maybe it's happened right now, all this data they've collected, every phone you have has your GPS on it. They know exactly where you are, either by that or the forensics of your Wi-Fi signatures, the different kind of Wi-Fi outlets that surround you. They know that because everyone has internal identifiers, even if you're on a different, completely different burner phone, and you're set up with a different, internet provider, and you just come home, they know it's you because they know where you are, and the surrounding area of that Wi-Fi signature, of Jenny and Bill's Wi-Fi over there, and Harry's over here, and whatever, all have those unique names. That's a forensic fingerprint to identify who you are. The point is that everything, we're in an electromagnetic soup. All I can say is when I went out to my house bus, I felt my mind clearing up, and I wasn't completely away from Wi-Fi. Sometimes I was, but where it's parked, I can get Wi-Fi access because I've been making my videos there. But there's a lot of people who have expressed when they go to a location with no Wi-Fi signature, that they feel different. They feel like they can think. They feel slowed down, not slowed down intellectually, but slowed down so they can take their time to think about problems and things like that. You don't even have to insert even a conspiracy. Why should we believe the mainstream, who always told us for decades now, literal decades, that cell phone radiation didn't cause cancer? Well, this year I reported Scientific American said it does cause cancer, or at least there's enough evidence to say that now. After years, I've been called a conspiracy theorist, and so on and so forth. There doesn't even have to be a wider conspiracy with mind control. Electromagnetic radiation and the constant smog that surrounds us is not good for us. Lots of scientific research has shown it doesn't make us feel well. Okay. In the meantime, that's pretty much my rant about that. I seen this and I knew I had to comment on it. Let's just jump really quickly over here to Mudrock, who states that the pretty much states it all here. When you send thousands of FOIA requests, you are bound to get some very weird responses from time to time. Recently here at Mudrock had one of its most bizarre gets yet. Washington State Fusion Center accidental release of records on the effects of remote mind control. So this is Mudrock sending that directly there. So this is coming from Mudrock, which is well known. It's a pretty established site that's well known for providing FOIA request documents and for having them and keeping track of the FOIAs and things like that. In the meantime, go out and decide for yourselves. Maybe you think I'm crazy. Maybe you think that the tinfoil is real. Okay? And people forget that tinfoil hats, they were there to protect us against electromagnetic interference and things like that, and people called them lunatics. This when you have literal people from DARPA actually creating them. Of course, in real aspects, a tinfoil hat is not going to protect you. I'm just telling you that you need, if you were really going to do it, you need to get these days a Faraday cage or move somewhere else. Faraday cages, those encased cages that you see when the Wi-Fi or frequencies and things like that hit the metal, it's broken down, it doesn't go through. You know, it's conductive to those waves, if you think of all the waves that are around you. The only thing that would really make a difference is electromagnetic shielding. If you're going to get a hat, you get electromagnetic shielded hat. The tinfoil doesn't do it anymore, but it is real, alright. No, maybe if you had enough tinfoil, it'd have to be pretty thick. It's going to reflect some stuff and it's going to absorb some stuff. But because you're moving into 5G, that stuff will just probably go right through it. Remember the new 5G network? Everyone's loving that. The big towers up there to spray us with these intense frequencies all the time. Maybe I'm going on about it. Maybe you love it. I don't know. Maybe you don't even believe it. But nonetheless, go and do your own research and have a look into it. All links we placed in the comments section, and of course decide for yourselves. I'm not telling you to believe what I'm believing. Go out and do your own research and come to your own conclusions, and maybe it'll be the complete opposite of what I believe, and you know what, I'm fine with that. In the meantime, whatever you do, stay safe, and remember, the tinfoil is really real this time. Literally. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you all later.